Hello, this is a private investigator experience podcast, and I'm your host, Phil Little. Today, this is kind of an urgent update on what's going on in the Senate with some of the appointments by President Trump, the urgency of these situations, and I'm disgusted, let's say, at the bipartisan attacks on the nominees and some from the Republican side that Trump has chosen. And around the world for the last almost 50 years. I've been in with governments and intelligence service and global security and everything you can think about. And I've learned a thing or two. State Farm commercial says. I've seen a thing or two. And I wished we could get back to a few years ago. In the 90s, early 2000s, when the Democrats were mainstream party that supported the Constitution and individual rights and with mainstream. Yeah, we've had fringes on the radical left and right forever. That'll always be there. But just doing something to sabotage a person just because they're appointed by Trump, they don't have to, they can be the best qualified of any person to do the job. Wish we could get away from that. And I want to encourage you, reach out to your senators, those that are on the committees that might be from your area, and let them know to support these nominees that are extremely well qualified. Remember, the public gave Trump a mandate. I don't care where you stand on the political spectrum. They give him a mandate. Clean this mess up that Biden group made last year, and it started back in the Obama years as facts are coming out. It's all there if you want to search it out. Become your own investigator. Don't sit with your head in the sand and say, oh, well, I can't do anything about it. Oh, yes, we can do something about it. I found that out over the years as a few people would start standing up and then they would gather hundreds and thousands to stand beside them. And let your senators and congressmen know that coming up in the election in 2026, there's going to be, in the Senate, there's going to be 20 Republicans up and 13 Democrats. Remind these Republican senators that if they want to be obstacles to what the people wanted, then there's groups right now that are putting together war chest to have a contest in the Republican primaries to get people there who will listen to the people. It's time that Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, or whatever you are, start listening to the people. Now, some issues with these three candidates, Cash Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I want to just look at the attacks on Tulsi Gabbard and the heat she's taking on some of her responses. And I believe we need to look at the one that they dwelled on, even the Republicans. Uh, I think many of them have a little thing because she's been a Democrat, and is she really changed and what's really her outlook on things? But they kept asking her, did or do you believe that Edward Snowden committed treason, was a traitor? Now let's look at that. Edward Snowden came out after 9/11, joined the military because of 9/11. And he went on to rise up in the NSA and had a top secret security clearance and was working for the US government. In that time, he discovered that there was legal things going on by NSA and other intelligence agencies against American people. Now, he decided, rightly or wrongly, and it wasn't right the way he did it, he needed to expose that for the American people. Now, what is a traitor? What is the definition of traitor? A traitor is someone sets out to harm their government by getting involved with a foreign government or entity, or it could be a cartel or anything else that would hurt the government, giving away American secrets that or for some compensation and harm their country. That's a traitor. Now, what did Edward Snowden do? Edward Snowden May the 20th, 2013, took a leave of absence from his job in Hawaii, where he worked for NSA, flew to Hong Kong, and then he took some documents and gave them to some reporters. Glenn Greenwald, and I listened to him recently talking about this, and there were three, four others, but Glenn was the prime one. And here's what he told Glenn. He said, only release enough of this to alert the American people to what's going on. He wasn't getting paid for it. He didn't take it to a foreign government. He did not use it against the government, or nor did he receive anything for that release. Now, what he did was wrong. That was illegal. But he's not a traitor under the sense of what the word traitor is. And we have these people throwing all this out. So we need to understand what is truth and what is untruth. And what they were trying to do was to get Tulsi Gabbard. He knows what the definition of a traitor is. And to say that he was a traitor when in reality he's not. But she knew that if she said that, the rhino Republicans, they would blow up all over the place. This woman is more qualified for this job than any of those senators that were questioning her that they are for theirs. She has proven her dedication to America. She has passed 5 backgrounds with spotless backgrounds. She's got a top secret clearance. She knows intelligence. The one thing that she has is that she's not a warmonger. She's not part of the military industrial complex that says, oh, let's go fight there. She's going to be giving intelligence from all the intelligence agencies, bringing it together in a package without political views to give to the president to say, here is the intelligence, here's the situation, and here are options. And then the president's going to make his own case on that. But in the past, we've had people that are part of the military complex that they're going to recommend actions at time, military actions, when we still should be looking for peace through strength. So they're out to get her. Let your senators know. Confirm Tulsi Gabbard. Confirm Bobby Kennedy. He's the Democrat of the Democrats. The Kennedy family are known for their Democratic background, but he's concerned about health of our country, health of our children. And he is the most qualified to stand against this pharmaceutical background. I won't read them, but of the contributions by the pharmas, the big pharma, to the Democratic senators. And Bernie Sanders is right at the top of that with 1,400,000 or something like that. Every one of those senators had large contributions from big pharma. So they don't want somebody there that's going to try to make our country healthy. Well, if you're the big pharma, if you're making all your money on drugs and prescriptions and things that are necessary and important, but a lot of these aren't. So making your money on that, and you're a stockholder and you're watching your stock price and all that, you don't want anything to interfere with your growth. So I say this not badly at all, but big pharma doesn't want you healthy. Because if you're healthy, you're not going to be taking drugs. You're not going to be taking all these things that you take a drug to help with one thing, and then it causes 2 or 3 other things. I went through this with my dad when he was close to late 80s. He lived till he was 91 and a healthy farmer when he passed away without really any complications. But they had him on 12 or 14 different medications. And when I had my doctors take a look at it when I got involved, he was on things that were causing other things, and he really only needed like 4 of those medications, which we got him off of everything else. So that is happening across our society. Vote. Let the senators know, put Bobby Kennedy in at HHS to help start making a change and making our country healthy again. Now, thinking about the senators, we have some old guys there. Mitch McConnell, he should have been retired. This guy's a rhino. What he's doing is disgusting, calling himself a Republican. He's past thinking like some of the Pelosi and some of the others on the other side should retire. And that's what makes me really support term limits. And I think all in all, plus and minuses, when you look at term limits, they're going to be more effective than negative, even though a lot of the long-term people are righteous, good people, but too many of them has become um, permanent that are running from election to election, spend money to keep people voting for them in their district. Well, the one though I do like, if you watched him cut Grassley, he's 91 years old. He's in full control. He had an iron fist on that hearing, and there's nothing wrong with him being there at 91. So it doesn't have to do with age, really. It has to do with where the person's at mentally and physically. So they won't impair their decision making. But and then the other that I want to talk about is Patel at the FBI. Now, I'm torn between, I'm pro prosecution. I've been in law enforcement all my life. My son was a prosecutor at the LADA's office after law school. And I come from that in my private sector. All we did was the plaintiff side or the prosecution side. I didn't do defense work. I didn't try to cross lines and do both things. It didn't work. But unfortunately, both the CIA and the FBI, NSA, other agencies, State Department, all across, have been infected with progressives put in by Biden and some left there by Obama that are still lasted. And their goal is to change our way of life. So the FBI was always my pride and joy in America as I traveled in the 70s, 80s, 90s. People would talk about and want to know about the FBI, and they looked at it as the premier investigation agency in the world. And it was, but it's lost its way. And there are people that need to be removed because they're not just following orders. They believe it. They bought into it. I learned when I got involved with government intelligence that there were actual progressives and intelligence agencies that had Marxist views. And I couldn't believe that. I thought, how could this be? I always held up CIA and other intelligence agencies. You got Mossad. Now, the same thing has happened in Israel. That's what brought on the attacks in October of 2023. Progressives and deep state had gotten involved in Israel, and that's been admitted now. There's high level military and defense people resigning, admitting that on their watch they allowed this to happen. So as I listened to the pundits that are taking shots at whoever at the FBI, the interim director, is removing people from post that were put there by the prior administration that definitely aren't Trump supporters and are part of the deep state. And what Trump learned from in his first term, he didn't eliminate the deep state at any of the departments. He wasn't aware of that. He didn't know that. And it came back to haunt him. This time, he had learned his lesson, and they were ready. And they're making changes. Now he's got the right man in at state. He's got the right man in at defense. He's got the right woman in at Homeland Security. And he's going to have the right attorney general. He's going to have the right FBI director, Kash Patel. And so even though I'm torn between seeing FBI officials dismissed or moved around in their positions, it's best for the country because 99% plus of the men and women of the FBI are righteous. They're doing a great job. I've worked hundreds of cases with the FBI over the last 50 years, and I've always been impressed with the quality, the integrity, follow through, and putting the American people first and looking at facts, not taking a person and saying, we'll find something they did. We, the people, elected President Trump, and we elected him on the policies of close the border, eliminate this immigration problem, get the criminals, immigrants first out of the country and other illegal immigration, clean up the FBI and the Justice Department and other agencies, get rid of DEI and CRT and all these progressive things. That was a mandate. Now, we gave him the mandate, so we need to support him to give him the team around him that will go in and clean it up. Trump can't do that on his own. If he has a rhino head of State Department or CIA or Justice or whatever, they're going to fight him. And what he found out in the first term was that he gave orders that just weren't being followed. They just didn't do it. And he didn't have the mechanism to learn about that until it was too late. So I call out to you, my fellow Americans, and those out around the world that are watching, hearing from, that are very concerned about what's happening in America because they know that'll affect them in their countries. Let's rise up, our voices. Let our voices be heard. We don't want a Republican, a Democrat, or a Libertarian, or an Independent. We want the right person for the job, man or woman, Republican or Democrat, Libertarian, but we want the right person for the job who will protect America, who will protect our rights. And then, as I gave an alert yesterday, if you got to the end of that long post, but Washington State is coming after the Second Amendment rights. And Washington State is in the process of enacting a law. They're writing it. And all indications is, unless something happens and rises up, their legislature is going to pass it and the government would sign it. But what it is, there's a law that says if you're a gun owner in Washington State, that for every gun you own, you have to have an insurance policy. I think it's $25,000 liability policy for every gun. Now, if you have 20 guns, like a lot of us do that were military, law enforcement, and you have to have an insurance policy on every gun individually. 20 insurance policies. I don't know how that can be illegal. I think it will be unconstitutional to court, but they're pushing that through. So there's stuff going on that we need to be aware of. Put your antennas up, get your investigative fingers going across your computer and doing research. Now, you can help me a lot. I thank so many people that have subscribed. Our watch hours are going up, and you know what the game is. We want to get up to where we can be monetized and do a more effective post and show and channel. And thank you for helping out with that. So would you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future posts? And if you have a situation in your family or life that you wonder if PI can help you, then send that to me at pi777 at gmail.com. And I'll let you know what your situation looks like and if a PI could help you and how that might work. So remember, this is a time. Get involved. Get on the internet. Send emails. Flood these senators with requests to confirm Patel, confirm Kennedy, confirm Tulsi Gabbard. God bless you and your family, and may God bless America. Be safe until next time.